Hi everybody, Dan Illman here. It's never too early to start preparing for the Kentucky Derby, and no better way to prepare than with DRF's Kentucky Derby packages. Save up to 39% on PPs, betting strategies, the DRF Player's Guide, and lots more. Learn more at shop.drf.com. Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux, taking a look at the filly division of the New York Stallion Stakes on Sunday at Aqueduct. It's carded as race number 8. We're going 6.5 furlongs. Let's take a look at this field. There are some promising fillies in this race, and I think a case could be made for favoritism for several of them. I think My Shady Lady will be the chalk as of post time based on her win last time out, but there are some question marks here. She's making her first start in about 3 months.
There are some question marks. Obviously, if you look at her 5-race streak, it's bookmarked by wins, and in between, to me, it's okay. It's not great, it's not bad, but there was room for improvement. And obviously, last time out, she went 7-ace, very impressive in that $500,000 race. But others in here have good recent form. So Hannah for Brad Cox comes in off a nice second place finish behind a horse that was a next out winner. And then even some others, Jade's Love off the maiden scoring, it was against Lesser, Fast and Frisky, and I second. I mean, there's a lot of horses that I think at least have recency, an angle that's been pretty strong, even if they're stepping up where others are coming off the layoff.
Perhaps pace and trip's going to be most important in determining the winner of this race. As we take a look at our Timeform US pace projector, Bustin' Time, the number 2, is going to show some speed, but she's probably going to have to improve if she's going to impact the overall outcome of the race. So Hannah does have that wonderful tactical speed, and I'm sure Manny Franco would be very pleased if this pace projector plays out on the track.
Would be very pleased. The one horse I wonder about a little bit is Handle on You coming out of those 1 mile events. I feel like the halves have been on a little bit on the quicker side at times, and maybe she'll be chasing this pace sort of where the pace projector has her, maybe potentially a bit closer, especially when you go to that most recent effort where they did go 46-1 to the half for the mile. I could see her maybe pressing it now, cutting back to 6.5 furlongs, but it'll be interesting to see in here. I agree though. I think Bustin' Time will be very sharp out of the gate.
And if the pace is hot, keep an eye on the number 4. That's the cutback, Fast and Frisky, who has the fastest Timeform US late pace rating. We'll start things off with the 1 Baroness Bourbon, who like Fast and Frisky, is cutting back in distance after a mile race. 5th last time out, this horse was up close to the pace and tired. I just have a feeling she's way more effective when you take her back and make one run. That being said, she'll likely need a career best.
I agree. I think she's going to need to really step it up. I will say I like that she was able to break her maiden for 20. They had some confidence. Her and her connections. Jamie Begg said, let's go against tougher next time out. Yes, it was against New York Breds, but she ran a really bang up good second. She just missed by a nose, got a really nice trip. I think the concern is, what do you take away from her last 2? They obviously had confidence from that effort. They put her in a stake. They tried to regroup at that same level in the following outing, and it just hasn't been effective for her. So we'll see what she can do here on the cutback in distance. But as you said, she's really going to need to take a huge step forward against this field.
Bustin' Time, Timeform US's expected pace setter, was a debut winner against open maiden claimers at Delaware, claimed out of that race by Robbie Davis. She missed a couple of months. She's run several times for the Davis barn. She shows speed every time, but the stamina just hasn't been there yet.
No, and now she has to go 6.5, which doesn't seem like it's a lot of change for her, but it's going to be, considering she's quitting at 6. It's not like she's been hanging around in those efforts. I have some concerns about her here. I'd like to see her probably against Lesser, maybe get some confidence built up again, and then try a tougher spot.
I wonder if another horse that needs a little bit of class release, the 3 Handle on You, a winner 3 starts back going a 1-turn mile, finished okay for 3rd in her first start against winners. Last time out, another situation. Maybe she was just too close to that pace. I think they'll take her back and make one run this time.
I think so. I think it was more effective 2 starts back when they did that. Yes, she was just 3rd. And then, she was able to be closer 3 starts back, but they went very slow for that mile event. Very, very slow, almost 15 change to the half. So I think that's why we saw her forward. So I don't think she'll be that forward in this event, maybe mid-pack and try to make that run. And you can see earlier in her career, they tried different things with her. They debuted her at Saratoga. It was a race that was carded for the turf, moved to the main track. It was muddy. Then they tried her on the turf. She's kind of been all over the place. So I think they're still trying to figure out what's the best move for her.
Well, Fast and Frisky has certainly improved at a 1-turn mile distance. I'm not willing to just pigeonhole her as a route horse just yet. She's making her 3rd start of the form cycle. She has the tactical speed to work out a stalking trip, and she exits a solid race where she finished ahead of a couple of these horses. She was wired by the favorite in here, but she stayed on well for 2nd. Seems to be improving with each and every start for a very underrated trainer.
Again, this is the type of horse that I don't mind her cutting back in distance. I know she tried it earlier in her career, thought her debut was good. Okay, she took a step backward in that next start, but her last two, and her only two starts now as a 3-year-old, they've been very, very strong. And I think she can build upon this, and her tactical speed here and her early foot, I think will serve her well at this cut back in distance.
A horse likely to rally from the back of the pack is the 5 J's Love. She just doesn't break from the gate very well, but she showed off a strong kick in her most recent start. This race, a $30,000 maiden claimer for New York breds, contested over a very wet track. So she didn't break well. She's 6 wide turning into the stretch, and she runs these over. So she's getting better, but she's stepping way up in class.
Huge step up in class. And she's made a move like this in her last two, obviously in the most recent effort, though, and it ended up being a winning move. And her figure really took a nice step forward. She went from a 26 buyer to a 57, a 31-point increase. My question with that, though, is she's tackled an off track in both of those. So depending what the track conditions are this weekend, I don't know if that works against her, or maybe she'll actually be able to take a step forward. But that's sort of a unknown variable with her at this point.
And she raced with Lasix in that last start. She won't have the benefit of that on Sunday. Sohana has won without Lasix, and her most recent start came in a first-level allowance, 6.5 on a muddy track. She faced a very sharp horse. She's second to the winner, who had come back to take the Eastview Stakes with a 72 buyer speed figure. Sohana showed good speed in this race before tiring. I think she's got some ability.
I also think it's interesting you mentioned she's won without Lasix. Look at the date of that race. It was New Year's Eve. So you think in the book, maybe they could have found her a spot for her where they could have debuted her on Lasix, but they chose not to. And all that difference between 2 and 3 years old just by a day. And in terms of that performance, it was good. I think her 2 efforts since then, she's done everything right to this point. No, she hasn't found herself in the winner's circle, but she can pass horses. She can be on the front. I think a versatility like that is going to suit her well. And again, this has been on a fast track, a muddy track. It just really doesn't seem to affect her.
My Shady Lady is the number 7. She won the edition of the New York Stallion Series in her final start at 2. Let's take a look at that 7-furlong race right now. I thought she got a good setup. These fractions are fast for 2-year-old New York breds, and My Shady Lady is going to rally from off of the pace. Really nice trip down towards the inside to get it done. It was a great ride by Castellano.
Really, really well-timed ride. I like that he's booked to ride her once again. And I think looking at this performance, I just like that she was able to kind of hit her best strides late. She passed horses. She ends up drawing clear here. And everyone else in a big field is way behind her. The battle really was for third. The second place finisher was pretty clear for second, but going to cut back slightly in distance. Her first start off the layoff. And my concern with her is just when she's good, she's good. And then when you get the in-between, she's okay. I don't know what to expect from her off of this freshening, but the barn in terms of their numbers off a layoff or off just a win a last time out, they're respectable. They're not on the high end that we see from some trainers, but they're certainly not on the low end.
Sunday Girl completes the field. She's kind of the X factor in this race because her debut was quite solid, beating 9 rivals for trainer David Duggan. She took some money in that race, 9-2 in a 10-horse field. Let's watch the stretch drive. She pushed the pace on the outside, and once she took over the lead under Katie Davis, she rolls in the stretch.
Yeah, both of these fields for the boys and the girls, they have that one X factor where they're able to win on debut, and we haven't seen them since. But talk about her rolling. This is pretty confident at this point where you can see, I mean, this is a horse that this is her debut. This is her first time at the races. And Katie Davis just asks her just a little bit, but she has this field way, way behind her in the end, and makes you also wonder what she might have faced in that race back in February with some of the horses coming back, some of them not. But you have to like that performance. You just have to wonder where she fits and factors in against this field.
Let's take a look at our top selections. Filly division of the New York Stallion Stakes. You're going with Sohana. I think a good trip is coming, just like Timeform US projects. I won't be surprised at all if she's in front when they turn for home.
I was torn between my top pick that ends up being the 6 and your top pick, Sunday Girl. I think Sunday Girl's a little bit more of a wild card. Maybe that'll be reflected in the betting, and she'll be a better price come this race this weekend. And that's a very different factor. But I do think for Sohana, for me, it's that she has a couple of races under her belt. She has that solid foundation. We've seen what she's been able to do facing winners. And I think against this group, that's probably the most attractive thing about her. And the fact that she's going to be pretty forward. She doesn't need the lead.
Sunday Girl, I was very impressed with the visual. I thought the Buyer speed figure came back solid in that debut. While she's missed 2 months, she's showing a steady string of works for a very good trainer. I think the price will be okay. She must avoid a wide trip because I expect her to be up close to the pace, maybe outside of Sohana, and they'll be moving together on the turn. 6847 for Ashley, 8425 for me. Filly division of the New York Stallion Stakes. Nice card at the Big A on Sunday. Best of luck.